QCO is clearly emphasized in the order itself so that the stakeholders are well aware of the timelines for the implementation in terms of necessary manufacturing and testing infrastructure and compliance of the product to the requirements of the relevant standard. So timeline also given. In our QCOs mostly we give different timelines for different sector of industries. Suppose it is 1 year for large and medium scales, for large scales, then it will be given 9 months for small scales and 6 months for micro scale. Like that, in that order, government after considering various factors, it decides the timeline also. Like how much quantity of the stock is already available. Recently, air conditioners are also brought under QCO. So that time also various stakeholder consultations happens. Manufacturers went to the ministry and informed that whatever our old stock, how much time we will get to sell the old stock. So these are the doubts you have to clear from the respective ministry, which ministry is issuing the quality control order. Then prohibition orders. After the date of commencement of the QCO, no person shall manufacture, import, distribute, sell, hire, lease, store or exhibit for sale any product covered under the QCO without the standard mark except under a valid license or COC from BIS. Once the date has been surpassed or date has been reached, then no person can sell, manufacture, import, distribute or store or exhibit for sale. That will be a violation of this quality control order, and subsequently there is provision for penalty also. Applicability on imported goods. There is questions comes from various importers whether it is applicable on imported goods. So whatever QCO is issued in India for domestic manufacture, it is equally applicable for all imported goods as well, unless a special exemption has been permitted by the line ministry. Then penalty for contravention of the provisions of QCO. Any person who contravenes the provisions of order shall be punishable under the provisions of subsection 3 of section 29 of BIS Act 2016. So the penalty provision is given there. I'll explain in details in later slides. Exemptions from applicability of the order. Any exemptions like non-applicability of the order on specific products meant for export, etc., come under the purview of the line ministry who has issued the QCO. Like I already explained, any exemption or applicability, the ministry who is issuing that QCO will clarify whether that particular exemption is applicable or not. Wherever exemptions are permitted, these are clearly brought out in the respective QCO itself. If there is some exemptions, it is clearly mentioned in the QCO itself, right? Then amendment revision of Indian standards covered under QCO. The latest version of Indian standard including the amendments. So whatever the amendment issued, latest version will be applicable in the QCO, but there is some timeline given by BIS, our Central Marks Department is there. After considering various factors, it issues the timeline for implementation of the particular amendment or revision. So till that time, concurrent running is permitted of the amendment or revision. Then clarification on QCO. Any person is having issue, queries, clarification related to the applicability of the QCO on a particular product or implementation of QCO or any matter concerned therewith or incidental thereto, like extension in the date of implementation of QCO, exemptions, stock in hand as on date of implementation of the order, etc., they may approach the concerned line ministry, department of the central government that has issued the QCO. So any clarification, you have to approach the line ministry who has issued the QCO. Then if any person is having queries, clarification related to the coverage of the product under Indian standard, covered under the QCO, then they may approach BIS. If you have any doubt, suppose you are importing a particular type of steel which is not specified in the Indian standard, any of the Indian standard. Some of the special steels are there. Then you have to approach BIS as well. You can approach for clarification whether this particular type, this grade is covered under this Indian standard or not. That clarification BIS can provide. Then quality control orders. Role of BIS in implementation of QCOs. For the purpose of facilitating central government in issuance of QCOs, BIS regularly interacts with line ministries, departments and provide technical inputs related to Indian standards, appropriate conformity assessment scheme, etc. and also participates in stakeholders consultation meeting. So, any QCOs, line ministry, Government of India issues through the respective ministry, but BIS is also there in the consultation meetings. BIS provides, clarification related to Indian standards and which scheme is suitable for that particular product. This kind of clarification BIS or input BIS provides to the ministry. Then further, for implementation of the provision of QCO, BIS acts as a certification authority and grants license or COC to manufacture as per the relevant conformity assessment scheme. BIS also acts as the enforcement authority for the product specified in the QCO. So, whatever the QCOs are issued, BIS is the certification agency. BIS grants the license or certificate of conformity, and as well as BIS is the enforcement authority. Enforcement part means any violation related to implementation of QCO, BIS is the enforcement authority. Then information on QCO. Where to check the information on QCO? You can go to the BIS website, bis.gov.in. You can go there, conformity assessment, then product certification, then product under compulsory certification. Or simply you can search products under compulsory certification BIS in the Google, the link will open. There you can check how many products are there under the compulsory certificate. These are the list I have provided here. As on date, scheme 1. Scheme 1 means which mark? Can anybody? ISI mark, right. Scheme 1 is ISI mark. As on date, we have 675 products under scheme 1. Scheme 2. Scheme 2 is registration, right? Scheme 2 is registration, and at present we have 73 products under scheme 2. Then scheme 4. Scheme 4 is certificate of conformity. Only 2 products are there. Namely, one is bicycle reflectors. There is one essential requirement. Government has published that all the bicycles sold in India, manufactured in India, shall carry the reflector, ISI mark reflectors only.